The Emirates Open Day is a talent eliminating machine. And did you know that 65% of candidates for Emirates cabin crew are already rejected in the very first activity on Open Day? Seriously, in this video, I'm going to show you 8 tactics so you don't get rejected and succeed in the first Emirates group activity. Hello, how are you? I'm Romulo Gutierrez, and this is the Flydeck Briefing Channel. I've been a recruiter and headhunter for 28 years, with extensive experience in international airlines. Currently, I provide training for 45 different airlines in various parts of the world for recruiters, specifically teaching them how to attract the best talent. And in this video, I'm going to give you 8 tactics so that you do well in the first Emirates group activity on Open Day. Let's go! The first point you need to keep in mind: in this first activity, recruiters organize teams of 3 to 5 candidates, okay? So that you can start a challenge that I'll talk about in a bit. What's important for you to show on Open Day at all times? At all times? That you're smiling, that you're welcoming to all your colleagues. Colleagues, the Emirates employees working on that Open Day? Be as cordial as possible. Many candidates believe the evaluation is only based on what is said. But no, it's how you behave, how you look at people, how you smile. These are very important factors, okay? Remember, what I'm mentioning is related to the company culture in 2 very important factors, which are empathy and the issue of cultural awareness. There, on Open Day, you'll have people of different nationalities, different backgrounds, different cultures, different roles. You have a colleague who's a candidate with you, and you have a recruiter like me, who might be participating in that moment. And everyone has their own culture and their own way of interacting and seeing the world. But the empathy factor, a smile in your eyes, and being there ready to learn is one of the most important factors you have to show in this first group activity. The second tactic, there are 8. Once you've settled into that group of 3 to 5 candidates, each group will receive a card with a profession. A card with a profession. So, for example, police officer, nurse, graphic designer, other professions as well. And then, as a team, you have 5 minutes to discuss and choose the essential qualities of this professional. All of this I'm going to call a big cloud that Emirates recruiters are trained to do. Cloud of what, Romeo? To observe behaviors, to observe mainly some factors. I'll mention 4 that they'll observe. For example, our card arrived, and we'll have to talk about the qualities of a police officer. And of course, I'll have to interact on this subject. But the main point they want to see in you is, first, if you have the ability to communicate, the ability to make yourself heard, the ability to get people's attention with subtlety and politeness. Second point, if you have good active listening. If when a colleague is giving an opinion on the qualities of the police officer, you look at them, you smile with your eyes, you suddenly have a small notepad, you write down a word, you're paying attention to them. Third point, if you disagree with your colleague, how are you going to express that disagreement? In a rude way? In a way, cutting them off, perhaps? Or saying, I understand, Mayara, what you said, but if you'll allow me, can I make a suggestion? Disagreeing with elegance. And mainly, one point they'll check is how much you're able to include colleagues who aren't speaking at that moment. Suddenly, the Miss Scott, she can't speak. She can't give her example. She's more shy. And you subtly, at a certain point, say, look, we haven't heard from Scott yet. It'd be interesting to hear from her about this. So these points are more important than the actual qualities you're going to talk about. Example of this profession? I have more tips for you. Before I go on, there are 50 errors that can take away your chances on open day, in the face-to-face interview, at any stage of Emirates or other airlines in the world. And that's why I wrote the ebook, which is the 50 errors that eliminate you and take away all your chances in the selection processes of the world's major airlines. This ebook is in the first pinned comment. It's also in the video description, okay? The investment value is special for subscribers to the Flydeck briefing channel, okay? Later, you can check this on the website, which is www.flydeckbriefing.com.br. Let's move on to the third point for you to do well in this first Emirates group dynamic. Right after that comes the presentation, individual of each candidate. Each candidate will have 40 to 60 seconds to introduce themselves, talk about their customer experiences, mention a quality, and explain the reason for that chosen quality. What are the factors you should be careful about in this presentation? Time. 40 to 60 seconds, not 65 seconds. Try to finish your presentation in 50, 52, 53. It's important for you to rehearse this at home, okay? At the end of the video, I'll give a tip about this. Second point, stay calm. Often we get nervous and start tripping over our words, speaking way too fast. Freezing up when speaking and being unable to express ourselves. That's also something to be careful about at this moment. So, some things I suggest that at least one or two of them be in your speaking script. That you're an adaptable person, that you're a resilient person, strong-minded, that you're a collaborative person, and that you're someone who enjoys dealing with different cultures. I'm not telling you to repeat this. Choose one or two of these characteristics. And in this individual presentation, bring this to the Emirates recruiter, okay? I don't know everything, but I've worked for a long time as a recruiter and selector, and I train recruiters for airlines all over the world. So I can, including Emirates, so I can tell you this with confidence, okay? After all, these are important flags that Emirates will be looking for. Now, I'm going to give you the fourth tip, the fourth tactic for you to do well in this first group dynamic that's held at the Emirates Open Day. Before I go on, if you want to hire individual live mentoring online via Google Meet, you can hire me, okay? There's WhatsApp, which is in the first link, in the first comment here in the description. It's pinned. And it's also in the video description, all right? You can message me on WhatsApp, you'll talk to me, it's not a robot talking to you, it's me, and then we'll arrange the mentoring. It's really cool to do, okay? It'll help you a lot in all the stages. If you want to hire directly, go to the website, okay? The website is in the first pinned comment, it's also in the video description, and you click on the site, the schedule opens up right there, you choose the days. For mentoring sessions and schedules, you pay through the Hotmart platform, which is a 100% secure platform with clear refund policies and is accepted in over 100 countries, okay? Right there, you can schedule, pay, and receive the Google Meet link based on the number of sessions chosen, and we'll meet for your video call. These sessions can be booked via WhatsApp and the website listed below, which is www.flydeckbriefing.com. Okay, and I'll ask you for a like. Give me a like and subscribe. The world of aviation happens right here at Flydeck Briefing. New videos on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Now let's go to the fourth tip. Throughout the entire activity, the whole period, the entire open day, not just the first activity, show that you're very proactive. By proactive, I mean a desire to solve things, a desire to understand others, and a desire to help others. This proactivity is crucial for the Emirates recruiters to see in you. They try to practice, if possible, servant leadership. Maybe you can suggest to your colleagues and say, while we're talking about the positive traits of a police officer, since we'll present this to the recruiters in 3 minutes, if you'd like, I can write down the traits everyone mentioned, and then we can pick the most interesting ones. I'm putting myself in a position to serve others. This is one of the they love. After all, we're talking about the airline that's a global benchmark for first class service. Keep that in mind. The fifth very important point in this first Emirates group activity, I told you not to dominate people, but also not to be dominated in the conversation. To be practical, what causes failure in this first group activity? When you become just a listener, a spectator of the activity. A colleague introduces herself and you just listen. A colleague introduces himself, then you just listen. He talks about the traits, but when it's your turn to mention them, you can't elaborate. You can't speak. And then you're impressed by everyone on the team who expresses themselves well, but you didn't make your mark. On the other hand, there are candidates who monopolize the conversation. Only they want to talk, only they want to decide when others should speak, showing a poor sense of teamwork. And then you'll fail the activity. Therefore, there has to be a time for you to speak and a time for you to listen. Balance these moments well so that you don't end up failing. Point number 6. I've actually mentioned this aspect before, and I'm going to repeat it. I always suggest that the candidate has a small notepad, actual paper, a little notebook, and a nice fine pen where you, during the group dynamic, can at certain moments make a small note to show the recruiter that you have a very attentive ear to what is being said. This care, this diligence shows the attention you give to others. Because when we go to an open day, the candidate is very worried about showing off their characteristics. And I reiterate, as I said at the start of the video, sometimes they believe showing characteristics is only through verbalizing. And it's not just verbalizing, it's also showing that you are attentive with your ears and with your eyes. These are very important points. Now, let's move on to the 7th point. If you've made it this far, write body language, because that's the point I'm going to talk about now. I'll know that you've made it this far. Remember, Fly Deck Briefing, World Aviation, is here every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. About body language. Avoid looking at the recruiter seeking approval. Focus on your colleagues and smile. I'll even speak as a recruiter myself. I give training in various companies worldwide, and I'm an academic, a professor at a university in Brazil, too. I'm Brazilian. I live in Rio de Janeiro. And often, my psychology students, when they go to present an activity or a project, there's a room with 50 students watching the presentation. And I'm sitting right here on this side. Instead of the student looking at everyone, they keep looking at me, seeking my approval. Don't seek the recruiter's approval during the first dynamic or any Emirates dynamic. Because the perception of the recruiter who is there is what? How much you are able to help, serve, and resolve issues with your colleagues. So be very careful about looking at the recruiter almost all the time. That's not going to help you. Smile. Pay attention to the people. The recruiter is a mere listener. He's listening in this first dynamic, and he will approve you according to these points I'm talking about. And I'd like to challenge you, if you get approved with these tips, come to the comments, report how the first dynamic went, and tell me so we can celebrate your approval together. And the 8th tip, actually, I brought some bonus tips here. I brought 2 more, okay? I just noticed here on my script there are 10 tips. Let's move to the 8th. Suggest that the candidate, later, when all this happens, everyone has introduced themselves, we've chosen the profession, assigned the positive traits. There will be a suggestion for the candidate, or for the candidates, to volunteer to hand out cards to the other candidates. So when that happened, the first activity, the Emirates recruiter will say, who would like to volunteer to hand out some cards to the other candidates? When they ask for volunteers, always be polite, refined, and just volunteer with a discreet hand signal. I can do it. I'm available. You don't need to rush over and desperately grab the cards. The recruiter didn't look at you, they looked at Bianca Martinez. Then, when he looks at Bianca Martinez, he says, you lower your hand, but that was noticed, that proactivity of yours. It was also observed as well, okay? At certain points, the recruiter, he will, after you distribute the cards, these cards have words that you'll have to associate yourselves with, okay? So words like organization, discipline, flight safety might come up. Teamwork, being a cosmopolitan company, different words might appear on the cards, and you'll have to take your card and talk a bit about that word, or how that word relates to your personality, okay? And so what do I suggest? Even in the mentoring sessions, we do this exercise. Choosing words or cultural aspects of Emirates that truly associate with your life story without you lying. So, for example, if I were to choose one, I'm not going to choose a card, but if I were to bring something from Emirates, I'd bring up caring for others. I learned from a very early age that caring for others is the best thing we can do in life. I learned that from my parents. I'm Brazilian, but my parents. My mother's Italian, my father's Spanish. So I ended up learning that from them, and Brazil gave me this close way that I like to be with people. So I could bring all of that into this card presentation, regardless of the word that came up. Then it's about valuing your life story and showing how it connects to the company. All right? If suddenly, when you give the presentation of that word on the card in the first group activity, and the recruiter disagrees with you, they can disagree, okay? And they might suddenly say, look, Miss Hassan, I don't agree with that. I think what you mentioned isn't aligned with what the company does or what the company has done in the past. With these disagreements, you can take two different actions. If the recruiter is right, you evaluate it. You say, look, I agree with you. Thanks for teaching me. I believe that, given this. And then you can rephrase your statement. And you won't fail for that because it shows the humility to back down when it's necessary. And suddenly they might be set in a big trap, you said? Something that has a very positive connection with the company's values. And then they're questioning you to see if you'll stand by your position. So you can say, Miss Recruiter, for example, Mari, I understand what you said, but from what I've observed and studied, my sign even fell down here. From what I've observed and studied, I think that no, I believe my position is correct because the Emirates Charter of Values says this, or talks about the fact I brought up here. So it could be another way or another format as well. Let me turn off the TV. And the 10th point I want to tell you is when you finish all these phases, the group activity, the first activity, you go to an interview. And my question is, are you prepared? For this interview, I wasn't prepared for the end of this video, but it's over. Are you prepared for the end of the interview? For the final interview? I've brought the questions that usually trip up candidates the most in the final Emirates interview. I've put it all in a complete tutorial in this video right here. Go watch it. It'll help you a lot. Excellent preparation. Best of luck and see you later. Bye.